Hi everyone, Brian here, back with part 3 of a look at my retro gaming room setup here. In this video I'm going to be looking at my Super Nintendo games. And my Super Nintendo games are on these two shelves right here. I have about 300 or so Super Nintendo games, I believe. I haven't checked on RF Gen recently, but we'll go through here. Here is my original Super Nintendo I got in 1991, in November of 1991, on my birthday. I had a birthday party that year for it and made just enough money. I had the birthday party just for the reason of getting money to buy a Super Nintendo. You can see the price tag on here is $199.99 if you can see it, from Woolworths. This is my original, my favorite console of all time. I love the look of the Super Nintendo, the American Super Nintendo. I think it's very nice looking. People always, say that the Japanese one is far superior in looks. And while I do like the Japanese Super Famicom, I think the Super Nintendo in the US is very beautiful as well, with the purple and the concave and convex buttons. Here's the Super Scope here. This is not an original. I bought this years later. And the Super Scope, Yoshi's Safari, is a very fun game I still play. So that's my Super Nintendo. We'll go over the games here. Here are my Super Nintendo games, box games. Start off with Captain Novolin. I found that about 2 years ago, new in box, completely shrink wrapped. And I was so excited to get it. I was excited not only for the game, but the fact that I was able to open a new Super Nintendo game back in 2012. And it was, I opened it up, smelled the manual, it smelled new, and that manual smell with the print, just great. Clay Fighter, I bugged my parents for Clay Fighter. This was a very big deal for me. Fighting games were huge back in the mid-90s, and this game was really highly touted coming out. And I got it, I was kind of disappointed in the controls. They were kind of floaty, but other than that, I liked the game. Chrono Trigger, I remember my dad brought this home for me when it was released after work. It was like $80 or something. Still remember that day. Awesome game. Cybernator, I picked that one up much later. But the ones I had as a kid are Clay Fighter, Chrono Trigger, F-Zero, got that at launch with my Super Nintendo. Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, got that when it came out as well. Have very strong feelings of that game, listening to Stone Temple Pilots while playing that game too. And Scott Weiland recently died last week, so that's sad. Mortal Kombat, I got this on Mortal Monday. Don't know why. I would just remember a friend like, "Are you gonna get Mortal Kombat?" I was like, "Yeah," and I kind of fell into the hype. Roadrunner's Death Valley Rally. I wanted this game because I was huge into Looney Tunes, still am huge into Looney Tunes. And it's made by Sunsoft. Very floaty controls, but I really do like the game. Lots of people do not like it, but I have a soft spot for this game. The graphics are really good on it too. Secret of Evermore. Had this game too, and I really like it. Secret of Mana, love this game. Star Fox. Street Fighter II Turbo. Super Castlevania 4, another one I got the first year of Nintendo at Christmas. I remember finding it. I remember asking for it for Christmas and knew my parents got it, and just looked all around the house and finally found it in the cellar, fruit storage cellar, that I was kind of scared to go in because there were spiders there. I think my mom knew that, so she put it in there underneath a rug on a table. And I kind of braved the spider-infested fruit cellar and picked up the carpet, and just finding that so I peeked up the carpet and I saw that peeking through, and I was so excited in that dark, dungy cellar. Just so excited. I love that memory. Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island, the last Super Nintendo game I got for Christmas. Love that game too. Love it. Super WrestleMania. I bugged my parents for this. I really wanted it because I was really big into wrestling at the time. The graphics are good. and the character roster is good, but everybody has the same moves. There's no finishers. It's kind of watered down. They improved much more in the later wrestling games for the Super Nintendo, like WWF, Royal Rumble, and Raw, and Super WrestleMania improved on it a lot. Or WWF WrestleMania, the arcade game, improved on it a lot. It's my copy of Earthbound I got way back in like 2009 or so. It was like $70 or $80, I think, before it really went up in price. And I was really hesitant to buy it because I didn't think I'd like it. I still have not finished it. I'm in the desert area. I still have to get Pooh is the last character I need to get. Here's my Super Game Boy, and this is Nightmare Busters. This was a game that was released and almost ready. It was done, but never came out here or anywhere else. Super Fighter Team, the team that released this, got the rights to it from the company who developed it and released it back in 2013 or 14, and I was able to get a copy here. The graphics are very, very good, very big sprites, very hard game. It looks like a Super Nintendo game, but it's a lot taller, so that's cool to have. Here's a Game Genie here for the Super Nintendo. Two of my favorite games on the Super Nintendo, Final Fantasy II and Final Fantasy III, both signed by Noboru Uematsu, the composer of the games. At MagFest one year he came and I had him sign them. Final Fantasy II, I didn't know anything about it. There was a Nintendo Power, but I kind of didn't read it until after I played it. And I borrowed it from a friend and was just amazed at this game. Still one of my favorites. The story and the music and all the twists and turns of Kain, the Dragoon Knight betraying you and coming back. Just amazing game. Final Fantasy III, I remember my friend getting it and reading the instruction manual at lunch, and I eventually got it. Amazing game. I remember before school waking up and playing it and being at the Zozo part where you climb the tower, and the tower where there's Zozo the village, and then there's just the Tower of the Fanatics that Kafka has in the World of Ruin, the first area, and it's just so much nostalgia. Playing this game before school and just playing it on all the time and loving it. Great games. And now we'll go on to my loose cartridges here. I hope you can see these here. ActRaiser 2, I beat this summer. Very fun game once you get the mechanics down. Disappointed they removed the strategy, real-time strategy facility building parts, but it's still a fun game. Addams Family Values also came out in the The Addams Family came out on the Genesis and Nintendo as well. Very fun platformer with exploration, big world, connected world. Batman Returns, very fun beat 'em up. Battletoads Double Dragon, I actually like a lot. Speaking of wrestling games, the last shelf I had, there's WrestleMania the arcade game. Phantom 2040, Earth Defense Force, a shooter. Breath of Fire, I borrowed that from a friend in middle school. Loved it. Breath of Fire 2. Brain Lord. Brawl Brothers, the second in a sequel of games. First was Rival Turf, second Brawl Brothers, and third is the Peacekeepers, I believe. And they're a trio or a trilogy of beat-em-up games. Captain Commando, awesome beat 'em up. The Kama Tribes is another beat 'em up. Contra 3, fun game. I don't think I've ever beat it by myself. I beat it with other people, with friends. Death and Returns of Superman, fun beat 'em up. Final Fight 2 and 3. I really like Final Fight 2 and 3, both of them. I recently beat Final Fight 3. And the Final Fight games just keep improving on the Super Nintendo. Very fun brawlers. Ghoul Patrol is a sequel to Zombies Ate My Neighbors. The Great Circus Mystery is the Magical Quest 2. Gradius 3, a early release launch title for the Super Nintendo. The Ignition Factor is a firefighter game. Sprite-based, top-down kind of firefighting game. It's on the Virtual Console, Wii U Virtual Console now too. Joe and Mac and Joe and Mac 2. Joe and Mac I used to rent all the time and play with at a friend's house. I love that game. Okay, here we got copy of ActRaiser. One of the biggest regrets I have is trading in my original copy of ActRaiser. It was a game I got with my Super Nintendo a few months after or during that time where I got with my Super Nintendo. And one of my favorite games, this is signed by Yuzo Koshiro, the composer of the ActRaiser music. Because I traded ActRaiser in, I had to get this copy much later. Actually 2008 or 9. Or 9 or 10, and it's because I traded in and I don't trade games anymore. It was stupid of me and I regretted it, so I just don't trade games anymore. And this Super Mario World and plus Super Mario All-Stars. Played through Super Mario World with a friend. Got all 96 exits. By far my favorite of the Super Mario games, the platform style, you know. Not counting Super Mario Brothers 2 on the NES, because that might be my favorite, but Super Mario World is my favorite Super Mario game. Knights of the Round. Lost Vikings. Magical Quest starring Mickey Mouse. Love that game to death. Thing about Magical Quest, I have fond memories of. I went to a dance before I borrowed that game, and I asked a girl to dance with me, and she turned me down. I was so sad. So I came home and played Magical Quest, and that made it all go away. Ninja Warriors, another beat 'em up. Paladin's Quest. Pilot Wings. Pirates of Dark Water. Shadowrun, that's one I used to play. I played at a friend's house. Never got too far, but I remember loving the whole game, the atmosphere. You wake up in a morgue, you scare the guy when you jump off the morgue table or the morgue locker you're in. Very cool game. Futuristic kind of setting. Soul Blazer. This is Sparkster. Spanky's Quest. Stone Protectors. Sunset Riders, awesome game. Super Adventure Island, awesome music by Yuzo Koshiro, who I talked about earlier. And Super Adventure Island 2, more of a Metroid-style exploration kind of game. Super Double Dragon, one of my favorite fighting games, beat 'em ups on the Super Nintendo. Love that game. Had a mechanic where you could catch the person's punch and like kick them and counter. Very intuitive for the time. I don't know if I need to turn on the light to see these ones here. Super Mario All-Stars, Super Mario Kart, Super Mario World. The one game I do want to get, I'm pretty much done with my Super Nintendo collection. I want to get Dracula X, but I got it on the Virtual Console, so I'll wait for that one. But I do want to get a Super Mario World retail copy, because that is actually the copy that came with my Super Nintendo. I want the box and everything, which goes for quite a bit now, because most people just had the bundled copy that came with their Super Nintendo. Turtles 4, awesome beat 'em up. Thunder Spirit, The Tick, I love the cartoon. UN Squadron, another early release game. Wolf Child, Excalibur 2099. Yoshi's Safari, which I talked about earlier. It's a Super Scope game. You ride on Yoshi's back with the bazooka, the Super Scope, as Mario, and you just shoot enemies in the Mushroom Kingdom, like Goombas and Koopa Troopas. Pretty cool. Zombies Ate My Neighbors. What's this game? This is Young Merlin. The label's kind of peeling off there. Wolf Child, which I remember. Kind of a cool looking cover. Wolfenstein 3D. And yeah. So yeah, guys, that is my Super Nintendo collection. 290 some games, maybe, I forget, I haven't checked, around there. Still finding more. By far my favorite system. So yeah, that's part 3. Join me next time. I will go over my N64 collection. Until next time, guys, take care.